Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, December 2nd edition of the Frankfort Optimist Club. As always, we are meeting in the Frankfort Office Pub and Deli, home of, what is it the home of, Lori? The best white bean, is it the white beans or it's the chili this week? It's the best chili in all of Frankfort. Daggone it. Best chili. Jimmy Rogers had some with cornbread back there. It looked really good. Wayne, would you mind asking our invocation, please?
Let's stand, please. Father, we thank you for all your goodness and mercy. We thank you for your blessings, and we have so much to be thankful for as Frankfort Optimist Club. You give us the opportunity to serve the children of our community. You give us the opportunity to serve each other through fellowship, and we thank you for that. We pray your blessings upon this day. Thank you for the good report on Mike, and we just pray your continued healing for him and for Ronnie and her mother, and for all who are hurting, those who are ill, traveling, whatever, that are not here today. Thank you for this food. Use it to bless our bodies. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Wayne. Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've already got my mind on the 1 o'clock meeting I've got to rush off to. That's what happens when you unretire and go back to work. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we have a program today. We have one excluding the second Tuesday of the month, which is fellowship. We always have someone from the community that comes and makes a very timely or appropriate, otherwise appropriate presentation on the youth or something that's important to our community. And today we have a very good program on deck for you. And Sharon, if you would you mind coming up and introducing our guests for us today?
Afternoon.
Hello.
That's weak, but I'll take it. Today we have a program that I think is very interesting in terms of what it is intended to do in our community. We have a community and law enforcement partnership, I'll say, that appeared in the paper several weeks ago, and I thought it was a very interesting piece that talks about the protection of our community from all sorts of dangers that may exist, and et cetera. And the person in charge of that program, persons in charge of that program, are with us today to talk about the nature of the program, where they see that program going in terms of its future, and to answer any questions that you might have. Of course, we only have about 20 minutes for the program to happen, so let me introduce the program speakers. We have with us today from the Sheriff's Office, Shaka-Tauhid Bridges, who is a sergeant and the individual in charge of managing a program that manages sex offenders in our community. With him from the State Police is Meghan Metcalf, who also assists in the coordination of monitoring the location of sex offenders in our community. And what I'd like to do is ask Mr. Bridges if he would come up and introduce himself, give you a couple of lines about his background, and introduce Meghan and talk about how her program interfaces with his program to give us a full community protection in terms of sex offenders. I introduce to you Sergeant Shaka Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and members of the Optimist Club. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. This program is very important to not only myself and Ms. Metcalf, but our respective agencies of the Sheriff's Office here in Franklin County and the State Police. First and foremost, let me pass the regards of the Sheriff. He wanted to be here, but got tied up on some other engagements. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just spend a couple minutes telling you that this program would not be where it is today without your Sheriff, Pat Melton. Pat Melton, despite anything that you hear to the negative, is the real deal. He is committed as a sheriff and as a person to his community. I went to him with some ideas about revamping the program for sex offenders. He gave me a mandate of 2 words: no mercy. He has stood behind me and the program, and I just want to reiterate that he is serious about the community. And this is coming from a deputy of 17 years experience, and my wingspan of my career has extended from 3 different sheriffs, okay? Just to tell you a quick little bit about me, I don't want to spend time on myself. I am a 17-year veteran. I started in 1997 at the young age of 21 under then Sheriff Ted Collins. He brought me in. I have been with the Sheriff's Office. I have done many things, sex offender compliancy. I've been a background investigator. Right now I'm serving as a patrol sergeant. I have managed 2nd and 3rd shifts. I've enjoyed my career. This is home. I graduated from Kentucky State University on 2 different occasions, back in '97 with my 2-year degree, and just recently I went back in 2012 and got my 4-year degree. I've been a member of the National Guard here in Kentucky, the Air National Guard, in fact, where I got my honorable discharge. This is home to me. So this is why this is important, because this is not just my community, this is our community. I want to bring up Ms. Meghan Metcalf. Now, Ms. Metcalf is the program coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, for the Sex Offender Registry for State Police. She is unofficially my other half. She is my tag team partner, if you will. I rely on her a great deal. State Police, I went up there with some ideas and knocked on the door. They welcomed me in. The commanders, we had an impromptu meeting and we said, hey, how can we help each other? And so we have an unofficial task force, if you will, where I rely on them. I'll call her at least once a week or so to get information, hey, or just, do you have anything for us? So I'm going to let Ms. Metcalf tell you a little bit about herself and we'll get into what we do, okay?
My name is Meghan Metcalf. I am the program coordinator for the Kentucky State Police Sex Offender Registry. I've spent my entire state career with the Kentucky State Police, starting as a temporary, actually, in the Sex Offender Registry. So 9 years in, I'm now the program coordinator. And while we do coordinate the public website, which you can all, view, it is open to the public, we do manage that as well as the compliance of registered sex offenders across the entire state. We do work hand in hand with local law enforcement, such as the Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Bridges, weekly, we're in contact. Also local PDs and of course Kentucky State Police Post. I work from an office here in Frankfort. I do make sure the compliancy of registered offenders, but it's people like Sergeant Bridges and the people on the ground per se that go out, do knock and talks, physically go to the addresses and seek out the offenders that are not in compliance and that are basically roaming our neighborhoods in our state. We work very well together, and we have to have this type of relationship to make it all work. We want to provide the public as well as law enforcement the most updated information, so you know who's in your neighborhood, who your neighbors are, who's around, just to be aware, just to know that they're there, and provide that information to you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the program works like this. When dealing with sex offenders, they present a clear and present danger to our community. So what will happen is state police is responsible for the registry, the list, if you will. Sex offenders, once they become an official offender, they have to register with probation and parole. That's through the Department of Corrections. Regardless of whether or not they're on probation or parole, they have to go there and register. That information is then transmitted to Kentucky State Police, where they will keep the official list of their addresses. They are required by law to list any address they're going to be at for a period of 14 days consecutively and 30 days total out of the year. They have to register these addresses. Now, state police will send out a mailer every year, I believe it is, around about their birth date, and they have to complete this mailer and verifying their address. Here's where things fall through the crack. Under statute, there's no real designation for who's going to go out and be the enforcement arm. They send out the mailers and notifications to the sheriff's office, Commonwealth Attorney's office, and I believe the county attorney's office gets a copy of the mailer. In previous years in the sheriff's office, they would give me the mailer and say, hey, go tell this guy he needs to make sure he gets registered or complete whatever he needs to complete to be satisfied with the state police, and I would do that. We would do that. Pat Melton became sheriff, and I decided for whatever reason, I think it was divine intervention, I said, well, okay, I start reading the Megan's Law, Chapter 17 in the Kentucky Revised Statute. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, hold on here. If they're out of compliance, they're violating the law. And in particular, that's a felony. So I went to the sheriff and said, hey, I want to do something different. At that time, just to give you a little bit of background, we were doing a task force of sex offender compliancy with the U.S. Marshal Service back in 2011. I said, Sheriff, I'm going to go do something different. I just need you to back me up. We're going to get some complaints, but that's okay. He said, okay. So I started arresting them. If they're on Facebook, sex offenders cannot be, they can be on the internet, but they cannot be on social networking site, any website that may allow a minor to access, they are prohibited from being on. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, some of these different other social net media sites, they can't be on there. So we would do knock and talks and make sure they're compliant. And I go, hey, you on the internet? Yeah, and they'd show you. Well, you got a Facebook profile. Well, you go past go and straight to jail. So this program has developed in that to where we're monitoring, and we want the community to know if you have a sex offender that's living in your area, or if you think somebody's on the internet or Facebook, to let us know, especially because what they're doing, they're out there trolling for children. Ladies and gentlemen, you're dealing with, this is not a mistake. Getting a DUI or not paying your court fine, that's a mistake. When you are abusing children, that's not a mistake. Okay? So this is what some of these people are doing, so that's why it's so important that we ask the community to give us information. So what we do here on the enforcement side is we communicate with state police, hey, where is this person supposed to be living? What does the official record say? Ms. Megan will provide that to me. Then we go talk to neighbors. And this is, again, very important that you talk to us, that you're willing to go, on record. I had one lady here roughly in this area who broke down and cried to me and told me about her abuse. But she stood up, her and her daughter, and became a witness for us, and we were able to make a successful prosecution of a non-compliant sex offender who was also on Facebook, whose girlfriend was also illegally harboring him in her home. And both of those were successful prosecutions. So this is what we do. We're out here trying to protect the community and our children and our youth from these kind of individuals. I'm also in contact with the superintendents. I sent them an email, hey, do you got any sex offenders that you've allowed to be on school property? Because under law, they can't be on school property without the school's knowledge and direct permission. Now, unfortunately, I'm here to be truthful and tell you there are some sex offenders that are exempt from being on school property from the law or from prosecution because of a 2006 Kentucky State Police, Kentucky Supreme Court ruling that certain offenders that are convicted on or before July, 2006, or exempt from prosecution under this particular law, that basically they can live near and be on school property without fear of prosecution. Now, let me say this, the school still has the right under trespassing to ask them to leave, but we can't prosecute them under Megan's law because of this ruling. So it's hurtful, but we have to abide by the law, and that's what we do at the sheriff's office. We have to respect their rights and the rulings of our courts. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you enough, again, how I keep reiterating, because when you're dealing with individuals that have molested, I've seen the cases of 9-year-olds, 2-year-olds that have abused and sodomized these children. That is our most important resource. These people are more dangerous to me than drug dealers. Bottom line. And I think we're all God-fearing people here. You're dealing with demons. When you're molesting a child, when you're sodomizing a child, 8 years old, 9 years old, that is helpless, 2 years old, you're not a human being, you're a demon. So I want to have you all become aware of what's going on. Call in to the sheriff's office, to state police, to the city police, because the city police has been very helpful with us. We also have a relationship with them in this regards. Get on the Kentucky State Police website, kentuckystatepolice.org, and you will find links to the sex offender registry, and where you'll be able to search by county. See who's a sex offender, where they're living. Now, we do not promote, you cannot harass these people. That is against the law. We do not promote that. But you can call your local sheriff's office. You can call the city police. You can get us all the information you need. And if we come and knock on your door and we ask you, can you tell me, do you think so-and-so has been living there? Have you seen him recently? Please help us out, because we're trying to protect our youth. We're trying to protect you. You know, these people will try every manner to escape the law. Well, they'll have parents or their, girlfriends say, well, yeah, he's living here, and he's not. That's where we come in and we do the legwork and the investigation, and we knock on doors and look at records, and that's where neighbors are very important, because they go, oh, no, so-and-so doesn't live there. I hadn't seen him in a couple of months. Ms. Metcalf's organization is very important because, again, they provide us the intelligence information. They have the official record, and, we have to get that from them. That's very important when prosecuting these cases. And may I say publicly that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office has been very supportive. Larry Cleveland, and in particular Zach Becker, who's been handling a lot of these cases, have been very supportive. I also want to mention that back in October, towards Halloween, we had Operation Fall Harvest. It was a sex offender compliancy check. It was a multi-agency task force that we were able to, through the approval of Sheriff Melton, I was able to get the, let me get favorable mention, the Office of the Attorney General, Cyber Crimes Unit, Frankfort City Police, the State Police Sex Offender Registry, Department of Corrections, Probation, and Parole. And I believe, let me see, I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out. I believe that was it there. Yeah, that's it. And these officers, we all came together and we went out in groups over a 2-day period, and we actually knocked on every door of about 75, 76 offenders. We knocked on their registered addresses, and we, made sure they were where they were supposed to be. Now, we had about 6 of them that were, 6 to 7 were out of compliance. And as a result, prosecution cases were open, and we have those people indicted, okay? So they're going to be held accountable here in Franklin County. And I think Ms. Metcalf can tell you she has seen, they're called up at the registry there, and they've kind of complained, and she's seen some good outcome of what we've done. Ms. Metcalf, you want to speak to the effects of our program?
I actually took part with the Sheriff's Office in the compliancy check, and to do knock and talks with every registered sex offender in your county in 2-day period, that's a big deal. To go physically see them, which is not something that my office particularly is capable of, but with the Sheriff's Office and local PDs, to do knock and talks with every registered offender. Not only, I want to point out, he's talking about, your neighbors. You can get on our website, you can search search by your zip code. You can search by your city. There's lots of different ways that you can do a search to see who's in your area. But with that said, you know your neighbor's habits. You know who's coming and going. The majority of us do. It's just how it is. Not only that, but as he was talking about the internet. I have children. I'm sure that you all, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. It's the world today. Everything's online. You shop online, you look online, you play online. I mean, that's what the world is today. These predators are online all day, every day. They've got a lot of time. They can do it from home. They can do it from the parking lot. They can do it from McDonald's. They can do it from wherever they are if they have accessibility to the internet. Offenders can be online. There's no law against that, but they have to register internet identities, and they cannot be on social networking sites that allows minors to access. Facebook, Instagram, two of the big ones. If you think, not only that they're not at the registered address, but a child says, "Oh, so-and-so," let us know. We get so much good information from the public, from the community, that we share with law enforcement, and can get prosecution on these guys, because you all are our eyes and ears. We're sitting in an office. We do mailers. We make contact. They make physical contact. But you all, this, everyday life, give us our information. And if it's a felony, they need to be prosecuted. And a lot of the good information, comes from the community. So we appreciate that, and we want that. And at the state police, you can do that anonymously. That's information that we will take anonymously. So sometimes that's the way people want to report it, and we'll take it that way. But the sheriff's office has done great work, the compliancy and checking everybody, making sure they are where they say they are. That's a big deal. And I've worked also in Louisville and in some bigger areas with this, but the sheriff's office, they're doing a great thing. We're lucky to have them in the community. They're active. Some places are not as serious about the sex offenders, and in our website, we just want to make you aware that they're there. Just know that they're there. They're there legally. They can live there, but we want you all to be aware that they are there.
There are some sex offenders that are trying to be compliant. Okay, there are some that are trying to abide by the law and do what they're told and register when they need to. But to those who are not, this is not a game. I get paid 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I will come out there, and if you are not doing what you're supposed to, I will indict you. Sheriff Melton is no mercy. We don't care. I will do whatever it takes to protect the children in the community. Some guys I've said in the paper, like writing tickets and different things in law enforcement. I never really cared too much for that. But this is in my heart. This is what I will do, and I'm making a promise to the community and to those offenders. I don't care if you complain. I don't care if you don't like it. This is what we're going to do. If you're not where you're supposed to, expect felony charges. I will knock on your door at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'll wait outside the funeral home. I'll do whatever. I don't care when it comes to protecting our children, because ladies and gentlemen, if you see the kind of filth and trash, when you're talking about abusing 2-year-olds, 9-year-olds, this is not a mistake. So we have to come together to do what we can as a community to stop this and at least have a handle on it. And your Sheriff Pat Melton is dedicated to that. As to the future of the program, I would hope, I'm a patrol sergeant again, and we wear many hats. We're trying to get this as a permanent position in our detective section. Hopefully assign a detective full-time to this and other domestic violence and child sex crimes, and to wrap this all up in one. We're going to continue to go forward and move with this. I may not be the program coordinator forever. I'm in the process now of attempting to going through a promotional process for the court security commander slot downtown at the courthouse. So I may not be the program coordinator that much longer, but I'm going to always be in the background. And the sheriff is serious about this. Ladies and gentlemen, again, she was talking about the different internet stuff. There's a TV show, ladies and gentlemen, called Catfish. It's on MTV. The whole premise of this show is how people think they're talking to someone on Facebook and having a relationship with someone, and then they find out that that person is not who they're talking to. That maybe that's a totally separate person or even a different gender. And this is the reality of the world we live in. The internet and computers are not going away. Tell your grandchildren or your children to be aware for your grandchildren, okay? Because these predators are online and they're crafty. We had one gentleman had a custom-built computer, okay, and had gobs of child porn. And you wouldn't think it. Some sex offenders, they're kind of polarized. You would look at them and they look like businessmen. And you would have no idea that this person is an offender. So you have to be alert. Again, we want to thank you for having us here. I don't mean to preach. I'm just passionate about this. I love our community. I'm concerned about the kids because being on the front lines, we see it. You hear about it on TV, but when you work in this job and in this field as we do, and you have to deal with this, I don't wish this on anybody. At this point, we'll be glad to take questions and concerns and comments from anybody. Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea on the number of offenders here in Frankfort County?
Yes, sir. Approximately, it ranges around from 75 to 80-ish. And that's been pretty much here in the last few years about that number. Yes, sir.
Why in the world would the Supreme Court do a ruling that would allow these offenders to be on school grounds, so where they know that their prey is there?
Unfortunately, it got to be, I believe, and Megan, you can correct me, it was a constitutional issue about certain, what they call ex post facto, meaning certain offenders that had been convicted before this law came into effect, and they found that I think it was unconstitutional to force them to move from their residence because of this. So then what ended up happening was all offenders that fell under a certain time period fell into this group. So unfortunately, we're stuck. There are some loopholes in Megan's law. There's a homeless issue that we're trying to deal with, but we have, as law enforcement, I have to observe that. So I've got a list. The Sex Offender Registry was so kind enough to give us a list of every offender in Franklin County with their conviction date. So I have to look at that, and there's a couple offenders that do live near schools. But because of their conviction date, I can't prosecute them under the Chapter 17 Megan's law. Only thing I can do is make the schools aware and make the superintendents aware. Matter of fact, we had a young man right now that we've got a case on him that was arrested out of this fall harvest because he was living near the Early Village Learning Center. Okay, he was living with 200 yards of that. So we're trying to prosecute him now. But we have to, law enforcement, whether we like it or not, we have to respect, and I truly believe in this, the United States Constitution, and respect the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the subsequent laws, and we have to do our job within those bounds, even when, that we don't too much care for that, but that's what we do, and that's what we're committed to doing. These people do have rights. You hear me giving information and saying they're demons and all, but they do have rights. We do not abuse these people unwarrantedly. We do not mistreat them. We respect our laws, and as long as they are compliant, then we will act accordingly. But if they're not, then we will go about things in a lawful manner through the Commonwealth's Attorney and County Attorney's Office, and we will bring these people to justice, and it's up to our court system to decide their fate, not us as law enforcement officers.
One more thing. The ones that live near the schools, do they have to wear ankle bracelets just so you guys can monitor?
The only time someone has to wear ankle ankle bracelets, young man, I'm sorry, is that if they're on some type of probation and parole, and then that may be a term of that, but just a offender who's not on probation or parole, no. Ma'am?
Would you give us the website that we could check to see what these offenders
Sure,
are in
that
the
is
neighborhood?
KentuckyStatePolice.org, O-R-G. That's correct, Megan. And then you'll see links there when you get on that homepage to Sex Offender Registry. You click on it. You can search by county. You can search by name. There's all different ways you can search. It'll give you a picture and if they're compliant or not and their address. And you can check that. And please do check it regularly. You know, we're trying to do the best we can to both of us, but we want information. Even if you think something might not be right, call in and we can investigate it.
And I'd like to add, their addresses change every day. I mean, they move like we move, you know, and so our information is updated daily, and every day we're adding, changing, doing, so check it regularly.
Do you have the pictures on y'all's channel 26?
No, not unless they're wanted. No, we don't have them. Dave there is referring to the sheriff's most wanted. If we are in the process of prosecuting them or have warrants against them, yes, they may end up on our most wanted. But no, the Kentucky State Police website is the official site where their pictures are housed and where you can go and take a look. Yes, sir.
Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
Or maybe Lord, does your all's database get updated by like other databases like a driver's license, motor vehicle?
I'll tell you
That is something that we, we check into. We have a process where each file is checked yearly for updated information, maybe. So we do touch them all within a year, something that we look at. We don't base our information on that. It is up to the offender to physically go into probation and parole and register their address. And if they don't, then they're non-compliant. And if we can verify that, we get word of that. If Sergeant Bridges, you know, if they call and say, hey, he's not there, we make them non-compliant. So it is up to the offender. It's the offender's responsibility. But we do check driver's licensing and some other systems for that, yes.
Any other questions?
My experience in the Department of Corrections is that Kentucky has a sex offender treatment program that is one of the premier in the country. And follow if an inmate completes that program and they are released to the community, there is follow-up program in the community for sex offender treatments. But the important thing for the public to understand is when they hear that, well, somebody was arrested for a child molestation or something like that, and they went to prison and they went through the treatment program and everything else, so they're okay. No, there is no cure.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
There is no cure. And so that's why it's so important for a program like this to be so vigilant and keep up. And that's why we live in a society where you got to be careful where your children play. You know, you can't just, your children can't go 2 doors up on the street and assume they're safe like it used to be. It's just not that way. And as a CASA volunteer, I have had a case of a 2-year-old that was sexually molested. And we tried to get the parents into a break the cycle program to try to rectify that issue. And what we found out in that break the cycle program was that both the mother and the father had been sexually abused as children. So they saw nothing wrong with what they were doing. So it can be a generational thing, and it can be a thing that's hidden in families for a long time. So again, that's why neighbors and relatives and classmates and everybody else need to be vigilant. If something's going on, you need to find out what it is. So those are my comments, and I appreciate you all being here and what you're sharing with us.
Thank you, sir, for that comment, because that's very important to understand there is no cure. And again, it's almost like a virus that gets replicated. A lot of offenders were abused themselves, and it's a virus that gets passed on. May I also say that the Sheriff's Office is dedicated to making sure that the schools are safe. I know we had a school resource officer recently ferret out to school employees that were having inappropriate relationships with the kids there, and that has been dealt with. The Franklin County school system, in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office, is very committed to keeping our children safe. It's a working process. It's a working process, and it's something that we have to stay vigilant on because of what we're dealing with. Let me just say thank you so very much for this opportunity. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to get this message out. For so long we were kind of in the dark, and doing this, on the side, if you will, and the Sheriff Melton has been great again. Call and talk to your sheriff. Whether you voted for him or not, he's our sheriff, and that man is committed. And I couldn't do what I'm doing if it wasn't for his support and his backing and him giving me the free hand to say, take the ball and run with it. And that's what he's done. Take the ball and run with it. Let's see, let's see what we've got here. And I just want to say publicly to Megan and to State Police, thank you for being there and backing us up. Because again, that's unofficial, I say, because there's nothing official, but we have a relationship, a task force, if you will. And, I need them as much as they need me. And ladies and gentlemen, when we started this up, I went there and I was just going to get some information from State Police and, hey, what forms do I need? And they welcomed me in, and both the commander and the sergeant had an impromptu meeting, and they were glad to see that somebody wanted to take this up. In the same way with that probation and parole, I went out there and spoke with them and said, hey, Lee Watts is my contact out there. He's a very good officer. Hey guys, can we email each other? What can we do? You let me know what you got, I'll let you know what I have, and let's work together. And that has really come to fruition here with our sex offender compliancy program. And I'm just a regular guy out here trying to protect my community. That's what I believe in. Ms. Metcalf, you have anything you want to say? God bless you, folks. Thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Sergeant Bridges, it was an excellent program. Megan, good to have both of you here. The acting president had to leave, go back to work. So we appreciate you coming today, and I'm sure you can come back next week and give us another hour.
Okay.
But the club would like to present you with an Optimist class.
Thank you. Hey.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
as our token of appreciation, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you so very much.
And the work you're doing. And Sharon, thank you for the program.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Do we need to say anything about the Head Start program?
Head Start next Thursday. Members be there by 9 o'clock. We will do the Christmas bags for the children down at Head Start, and Santa Claus will be there.
Very good. Very good. Anything else before we proceed to adjourn?
I forgot to put the banner up without the screen.
Can anybody recite it from memory? All right.
Jimmy, whoops.
Here's a copy, and I'll pass this on. Okay, let's stand and recite the creed. To promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. To make all your friends feel that there's something in them. To look at the sunny side of everything, make your optimism come true. To think only for the best, work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. To give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to admit the presence of trouble. We are dismissed, and we'll have a meeting next Tuesday.
Very